Lin Zi'ang sat on the broken computer chair in the dormitory, staring at the screen, and his fingers quickly knocked on the keyboard. He was playing an online game, and the headphones were coming from his teammates' calls, and the screen was filled with special effects of explosions and guns. He was wearing a pair of black-framed glasses. The lens was filled with blue light on the screen, and his face was a little white, which looked like he hadn't had a good sleep for several days. The dormitory was a mess. The table was filled with exterior boxes and empty cabins, and the quilts on the bed were not scattered, and they were casually placed. "Zi'ang, can you stop giving me a head?" Wang Xiaopeng's loud voice came from the headphones, and he felt helpless. "If we lose this game again, I will really get out of the trap." Lin Zi'ang curled his lips and replied unhappily, "Come on, how many times have you withdrawn from the pit?" "Every time. Is it the old man actually coming back to be my younger brother?" Wang Xiaopeng laughed at the phone twice, and said nothing more. Lin Zi'ang actually knew that he was really having some fun in this game, and the feel was completely out of touch. "I don't know why, but in recent days he's been feeling a mess in his brain, as if someone mutters in his ears, but he can't hear what he's saying." This feeling made him particularly impatient, and even when he was sleeping at night, he always had some miserable dreams, and he woke up and was sweating all over. He slammed his head, tried to throw these strange ideas out of his brain, and focused on the game. But at this moment, the dormitory door was pushed open suddenly, and a boy in sportswear walked in. This guy is named Li Chang, who is from the dormitory next door. He usually has no interaction with Lin Zi'ang, but every time he meets, he looks arrogant, as if who owes him millions. "Oh, Lin Zi'ang, are you playing games again? It's so wasteful." Li Chang leaned against the door frame, holding an unlit cigarette in his mouth, and his language was full of ridicule. "You said that people like you are taking exams and the community doesn't participate, and you know what future can you have in the dormitory every day?" Lin Zi'ang didn't say anything, but just looked down at the screen and stopped his fingers. He felt a little unhappy, but he had to be more accustomed to this kind of person. After all, this is his personality. He doesn't like to cause trouble, so he can tolerate it. "But today I don't know what happened." Li Chang's words seemed to have ignited some fire. A sudden indescribable anger suddenly surged in his heart, and his hands began to tremble slightly. "What? Don't accept it." Li Chang saw him not talking, smiled even harder, and walked forward 2 steps. "Come on, say 2 sentences, don't be like a fool." At this moment, Lin Zi's brain suddenly buzzed, as if something was blowing up. He subconsciously raised his head and looked at Li Chang, with a strange light flashing in his eyes. He didn't say anything, but inexplicably heard a sound in his heart, not heard by his ears, but appeared directly in the brain, as if someone was talking in his brain. The sound was low and blurry, with a strange emotion, like disdain? Laugh at? Lin Zi'ang was stunned for a moment and immediately realized that this emotion was not his own, but from Li Chang. He could feel what Li Chang was thinking. This guy was picking on the surface, but actually he was just trying to find someone to ejaculate because he was just knocked over by the coach and was in a bad mood. This feeling was so strange that Lin Zi'ang was a little confused for a while and even forgot to reply. He stared at Li Chang straight here, and his brain took a step forward uncontrollably. A thought suddenly appeared in his heart: let this guy close his mouth. The next second, something strange happened. Li Chang was still chattering and mocking, but the expression on his face suddenly froze, as if he was pressed to a pause button. His mouth was slit, and he couldn't say a word, and he was shocked in his eyes, as if he didn't know why he suddenly became sluggish. Lin Zi'ang's heartbeat accelerated, his palms covered in sweat. He didn't know what he had done, but he clearly felt that Li Chang's silence had something to do with his thoughts just now. He tried to concentrate again and silently recited in his mind, "Turn around and walk away." Li Chang's body seemed to be led by some invisible force, and turned over stiffly, and walked out of the dormitory with mechanical steps. It was not until his back disappeared into the corridor that Lin Zi'ang suddenly came back to his senses and his brain was blank. "The trough, what is that?" he muttered in a low voice, his voice trembling. He looked down at his hands, as if he had known these 2 hands for the first time. Wang Xiaopeng was still shouting in the earphones, "Zi'ang, why are you not moving? You are falling off. Hurry up, the team is about to be gone." Lin Zi'ang ignored him and took off his earphones and leaned on the back of the chair and gasped. His brain began to hurt, as if someone knocked it in it with a squid, making him browse straight. But what made him more uneasy than the pain in his head was what happened just now. "This is impossible," he muttered to himself, trying to find a reasonable explanation for himself. "Has I been staying up too late recently and having an illusion?" But deep down in his heart, he knew that this was not an illusion. The feeling that can perceive other people's emotions and even affect the other party's behavior is different, but it really exists. He sat in the chair and was stunned. Finally, he decided not to think about these things first. He got up and grabbed his phone and keys, and was ready to go outside for a breath. The weather in Xinghai City is always sunny and the sun is still shining. Now thick clouds are piled up around the sky, as if it will rain any time. Lin Zi'ang walked out of the dormitory building and walked along the campus path without destination. It was still a mess in his brain. The thing just happened like a thorn, piercing his heart, and couldn't pull it off no matter how hard it was. There were not many people in the campus, and occasionally several students rode the shared car from him, laughing and speaking continuously. Lin Zi'ang lowered his head, kicking the pebbles on the road, trying to calm himself down. But at this moment, he suddenly heard a scream coming from afar, with a sharp and short voice, as if someone was in danger. He looked up subconsciously and saw that on Lin Zidao, who was not far away, a girl wearing a white t-shirt and a denim pants was being held by two men. The girl looked over 20 years old, with short hair and neat hair, full of anger on her face, pointing at one of the men and saying something. And the two men, one with yellow hair and the other with a full face, were wearing flowery shirts, like a gangster on the street. They were smiling rudely on their faces, approaching the girl step by step, and it seemed that they had to move at any time. Lin Zi'ang glanced at his eyebrows, feeling a little hesitant in his heart. He is not the kind of person who likes to be meticulous. When he encounters this kind of thing, his first reaction is to walk around. But today I don't know what happened. Seeing the girl being blocked by herself, a sudden indescribable anger suddenly surged in his heart, as if it was his own business. "Hey, what are you fucking?" He couldn't help but shouted. The sound was louder than he had expected. After saying this, he himself regretted it and wondered if he had a brain twitch and had come to be a hero. The two men turned over and glanced at him. Huang Mao sneered, "Where's the stupid green man? Go around and keep a little care." Lin Zi'ang felt tight in his heart, but his steps did not stop and walked over with his head. The girl saw someone coming to help, and she was shocked in her eyes, but soon became cold again and said to him in a low voice, "Don't worry, this matter has nothing to do with you." Her voice was crisp and firm, carrying an unquestionable verbal spirit. Only then did Lin Zi'ang see her face carefully, with delicate facial features and a stubborn look in her eyebrows and eyes, as if she was not easy to mess with. He was stunned for a moment, thinking that this girl didn't look like she needed help, but those two men obviously were not good at it. Once she really started, she would definitely be able to eat her. "Don't waste it," he replied in a low voice, then turned to look at the two men, and said in a stern manner, "If you don't leave, I'll call the police." Huang Mao and the flowery shirt looked at each other, as if they had heard some joke, and they laughed. Hua Fengshan took a step forward, stretched out her finger and pointed Lin Zi'ang's chest. "Secretary. Boy, do you know who we are? Believe it or not, I can't even let you go to the police station door." Lin Zi'ang took a step back by him, and the anger in his heart inexplicably became burned again. The sound of buzzing suddenly echoed in his brain, as if he was just dealing with Li Chang in the dormitory. He subconsciously focused his attention and tried to listen the feelings of these two men. This time, the feeling is clearer. He could clearly sense that Huang Mao was actually a little stupid in his heart, and although he was hard on his lips, he didn't want to make things too big. And the flower shirt is another matter. This guy is full of anger, as if he is ready to start any time, and even has an inexplicable sense of excitement. Lin Zi'ang gritted his teeth and recited silently in his heart, "Get back, don't move." The next second, Hua Fengshan's hand suddenly stopped in the air, as if she was being grabbed by something, and a shocked expression appeared on her face. He tried to move, but his body seemed to be trapped and he didn't listen to the silence at all. Huang Mao saw that, his face changed, and he said in a daze, "What did your mother do to him?" Lin Zi'ang did not answer because his head began to hurt violently again, as if his brain was about to crack. He covered his son's vagina, stood firmly and said in a low voice, "Roll, roll." Huang Mao was stunned for a moment, but when she saw Hua Fengshan was still motionless, she finally didn't dare to say anything else, dragged her companion and ran away. Lin Zi'ang watched their backs disappear into Lin Zidao's head, and then he felt relieved and almost stood firm. "You're okay?" The girl next to her suddenly opened her mouth, with a little concern in her voice. She walked to Lin Zi'ang's body, looked at him with a brow. "What's going on just now? Why did that person suddenly stop moving?" Lin Zi'ang smiled hard and slammed his head. "I don't know. Maybe he has a cramp in his own leg." The girl obviously didn't believe it, squinted her eyes and looked at him for a while, then took out a business card from her pocket and passed it over. "My name is Zhang Xiaoqing, I am a reporter. I just thank you for helping you. This is my way of contact. If you have anything to do, you can find me." Lin Zi'ang took the business card and looked down. There were several words *C Daily Zhang Xiaoqing written on it. He clicked a little and said, "My name is Lin Zi'ang. It's nothing, I'm just passing by." Zhang Xiaoqing didn't say anything, but just looked at him deeply and turned away. Lin Zi'ang stood there, watching her back disappear into the crowd, and his heart became more and more uneasy. He knew that it was no coincidence that what happened just now, and that his ability, if it was really a capability, is becoming more and more real and more dangerous. The headache continued, so he rubbed his son acupoint and decided to go back to the dormitory to rest first. But at this moment, the phone suddenly started to rise, and Wang Xiaopeng's name was displayed on the screen. He picked up the phone and before he opened his mouth, he heard the sound of Xiaopeng roaring, "Zi'ang, where are you? Come to the school gate quickly. I just heard a big news, saying that someone in the city center has missed it, and it sounds quite evil." Lin Zi'ang glanced at his eyebrows, and suddenly felt a bad feeling in his heart. He responded, closed the phone and walked towards the school gate. The sky in Xinghai City became darker and darker, and the pressure of the Yuyun made people breathless. What he didn't know was that the secret hidden in this city had begun to approach him step by step. Lin Zi'ang stopped the phone and replied to Wang Xiaopeng's anxious voice in his brain. He stood on the campus path, and the wind was a little fluttering, and it was covered in moisture, as if it was going to rain any time. He rubbed the son's acupoint, which was still hurting, and walked towards the school gate with a heavy pace. What happened on Lin Zidao was like a dream. Zhang Xiaoqing's business card was stuffed in her pocket, and the corners of him made his palm feel a little uncomfortable. He looked down at his phone. The time it was almost evening when the screen was displayed. The sky in Xinghai City was pressed tightly by the heavy clouds. The neon lights on the high floors began to light up, adding a bit of a strange atmosphere to the city. People came from the school gate, and several students wearing school uniforms were riding the shared car and laughing continued to spread. Lin Zi'ang saw Wang Xiaopeng at a glance. The guy was wearing a whitewashed robe and stood at the entrance of the milk tea shop on the road, holding his cell phone in his hand, looking excitedly from Zhang Xuang on the east side of the ground. Seeing Lin Zi'ang coming, the little fat slapped his hand and shouted loudly, "Here! Hurry, you have something big to tell you." Lin Zi'ang rolled his eyes without any worries and walked up to him. "What a big deal, it's mysterious. I just said on the phone that someone missed it. What's going on?" Wang Xiaopeng smiled and approached a little, and said in a low voice, "I just browsed the local forum and said something happened again in the city center. What happened this time was a young white man who didn't go home after get off work last night. The monitor captured her finally appearing near a shopping mall, and then there was no one else. The key is that this is the third time this month. It has been exploded online, and everything is said. Some people guess it is a human, some people say it is a cult organization, and some say it is," he put it on, his expression becoming a bit obscene, It is said that it is a superpower, and he specializes in arresting people for practical experiments. Lin Zi'ang heard the words super powerful man and suddenly felt nervous. On the surface, he didn't care about the decoration and curled his lips. Don't watch some messy things. What kind of super powerful man? It's probably written by netizens. Are you doing this movie? Wang Xiaopeng saw that he didn't believe it, so he took out his phone and found a post and posted it in front of him. You can read it yourself. This is not what I wrote. Many people on the internet said that there are many strange things in Xinghai City these years. Some people missed it for no reason, and some eyewitnesses have also seen some strange phenomena, such as someone who can move things from the air. If you think this is not a superpower, how can you explain it? Lin Zi'ang glanced at the mobile phone screen with his head down. The post was indeed written with a nose and eyes, and even a few blurry photos were included, like a monitoring screenshot. There was a figure standing on the corner of the street. The surrounding road lights seemed to be twisted by something, and the light was bent. He felt a little tired, and his brain couldn't help but think of the scene when he just dealt with the two gangsters, the stiff and unmoving look of the flower shirt, and the yellow-haired expression. These scenes flashed in his brain like a movie. Okay, don't guess it. He pushed his phone back to Xiaopeng. His language was a little impatient. What does this matter have to do with us? Just take care of yourself, don't think about these things all day long. Wang Xiaopeng slapped his head and muttered, I just think it's evil, just saying it. Yes, what's wrong with you? Why is your face so bad? Didn't you sleep well or what? Lin Zi'ang said perfunctorily, it's nothing. I've been a little tired recently and have a little pain. He didn't want to let Xiaopeng see the clues. After all, he didn't even figure out this matter himself. How could he explain it to others? What's more, he was puzzled that he felt uneasy, and he always felt that these misunderstandings could not be related to the strange things that happened to him. Xiaopeng didn't think much about it and patted his shoulder. Okay, let's go to eat something first and tell me about the belly. I know a new roasting restaurant nearby. I heard it tastes good, brother, please. Lin Zi'ang was slightly sharp and the two walked out of the school gate. As the night in Xinghai City became hotter, the small sauna on the road began to produce all kinds of food. The air was filled with the aroma of skewers and spicy soup, which mixed with the tail of the car, making people feel comfortable or difficult to say. Lin Zi'ang followed the little fat man, and his brain kept thinking about the post he just saw, and his extraordinary abilities. The more he thought about it, the more he felt he was not in a match, and his pace slowed down. Zi'ang, why are you stunned again? Xiaopeng looked back and saw that he was behind for a few steps. He couldn't help but urge, hurry, the baking restaurant is at the entrance of the alley in front. It's too late and there is no place. Lin Zi'ang responded and was about to speed up his pace when his phone suddenly shook. He looked down and saw a new text message, and the sender showed Zhang Xiaoqing. He was stunned for a moment, and clicked on it. The text message was very simple. Lin Zi'ang, I have something to come to you, about what happened this afternoon. Is it convenient to see? The address is in the South Street Coffee Museum in the city center, at 8 o'clock in the evening. He looked at the text message and his heart skipped a beat. What happened this afternoon obviously refers to the scene where he used his ability to scare the two gangsters on Lin Jidao. Zhang Xiaoqing looked suspicious at that time. Now he is actively contacting, can't he see something? Lin Zi'ang's hand holding the phone tightened slightly, feeling a little surprised whether to go. After all, he had a slight understanding of his abilities. When she asked him something, he could not explain it at all. Who? What text message? How ugly is he laughing? Xiaopeng glanced over and saw Lin Zi'ang's expression was inconsistent, and Lima started gossiping, you can't be a girl, right? Tell me, when will you know me? Lin Zi'ang glared at him without any worries and stuffed his cell phone back into his pocket. Stop talking, nothing is a matter, just a classmate is asking for work. Where is the roasting restaurant? Take the way. The little fat man said 2 times, but he didn't believe it, but he didn't ask any more questions. He hummed a small song and continued to walk forward. Lin Zi'ang followed him, and had already made a decision in his heart to see Zhang Xiaoqing. He knew that if he didn't figure out all this, he would never be able to feel at ease. Moreover, Zhang Xiaoqing is a reporter, and he may know something that can help him unravel this group of mystery. At 7:30 p.m., Lin Zi'ang found an excuse to separate from Xiaopeng and took the underground railway to the South Street in the city center. This area is one of the most prosperous areas in Xinghai City. The high-rise buildings are divided into several times. The streets are surrounded by shops of various brands, and the LED billboards are dazzling. The South Street Coffee House is in an inconspicuous alley. The door is not big, but it is decorated with a very sleek shape. The hand-painted coffee cup pattern is posted on the glass window, which is filled with warm yellow lights. Lin Zi'ang pushed the door in, and a scent of coffee came over his face. There are not many people in the store, and a few young people are sitting in the corner chatting quietly. The background music is light jazz, which makes people unable to help but relax. He glanced at it and soon saw Zhang Xiaoqing near the window. She was wearing a white t-shirt and denim pants like in the afternoon, and her hair was casually slim behind her brain. She was looking down at the notebook in her hand, with her eyebrows slightly, as if she was thinking about something. He walked over, pulled the chair and sat down, coughing dryly. "Hey, are you looking for me?" Zhang Xiaoqing raised her head and saw that it was him. She smiled, but there was a look in her eyes. "Come very quickly." "What should I drink?" I asked. Lin Zi'ang snatched his head. "No need, just say serious matters. You said in your text message that you have something to come to me. What's the matter?" Zhang Xiaoqing didn't rush to answer, but closed the notebook, leaned on the back of the chair, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and looked him up and down for a few eyes. "I was in the campus in the afternoon, thank you for helping you. But I was a little curious about why the two gangsters suddenly ran away. Especially the one wearing a flower shirt, his expression was particularly unmatched at that time, as if he was surprised by something." "What did you do?" Lin Zi'ang felt nervous, and on the surface, he was as if nothing had happened, and he heard a lot. "What can I do?" "I just scared them a few words, saying that they wanted to call the police. I guess they were worried and ran away. Don't you think I have any special functions, right?" He tried to use joking spirit to resolve the embarrassment, but Zhang Xiaoqing obviously didn't take this one. She narrowed her eyes and became serious. "Lin Zi'ang, I'm a reporter, and I have seen many strange things. I don't believe in any coincidence." The reactions of the two people were too abnormal. "Moreover, I noticed that your condition was not right at that time, and his face was pale, as if it was very painful. In fact, do you know something?" Lin Zi'ang was speechless by her question, and his fingers clenched the corners of the table unconsciously. He knew that if she continued to be stupid, she would only make her more suspicious. But to be honest, he was not sure whether Zhang Xiaoqing could accept such a strange thing, nor was he sure whether she would expose it. After hesitating for a few seconds, he finally opened his mouth. His voice was very low. "Are you asking about this? I am just an ordinary student. What can you know? But why did those two gangsters trouble you in the afternoon? Who did you offend?" Zhang Xiaoqing was stunned for a moment, but she didn't expect him to ask. She was silent for a moment, as if she wanted to speak. Finally, she sighed. "Okay, don't hide it. If I tell you and me, you have to tell me, so what?" Lin Zi'ang pointed a little, but he was still unsure. Zhang Xiaoqing saw that he agreed and continued. "Those two gangsters were not randomly looking for trouble. They were ordered by someone. I have been investigating some misunderstandings in Xinghai City recently, and I have dug a little deeper. I guess I have stepped on some people's pain. They want to warn me and let me not investigate again." "Missing cases?" Lin Zi raised his eyebrows and remembered what Xiaopeng said. "Is it the number of things that were posted online? Someone in the city center has disappeared inexplicably?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaoqing looked slightly, his eyes became more profitable. "In the past few years, the missed cases in Xinghai City have appeared to be a single incident on the surface, but in fact they have many common points. For example, most of the missed people are young people, the missed places are around the city center, and the monitoring always cannot take the key pictures, as if they were deliberately erased. I suspect that there is a large group behind this, which may even be related to some large companies. Lin Zi'ang felt her hair oozing in his heart, and his brain couldn't help but think of his abilities. If there is really some organization that is catching people for practical experiments, will his ability also have something to do with this? He tried to calm down and asked, "What evidence do you have? Isn't it okay to just guess, right?" Zhang Xiaoqing took out a photo from her bag and pushed it in front of him. "This is the data I have collected over the past few months, the photos of the missing person, the monitoring screenshot of the missing place, and some testimonies of the target. Although it is not direct, you can see some clues. Look at this Zhang, where the missing person finally appeared, there is a biotechnology company nearby, called Haotian Technology. The company has a deep background and is an artificial device on the surface, but there is a private message saying that they are having human experience." Lin Zi'ang looked at the photo with his head down, his heartbeat getting faster and faster. Although the monitoring screenshot in the photo is blurry, you can see the few words Haotian Technology tags. The sign is hanging at the door of a building, which looks a bit lusty. A thought suddenly flashed in his brain: if his abilities were really caused by humans, would this company be the source? "What, do you know this company?" Zhang Xiaoqing saw that his expression was inconsistent, and Lima chased and asked. Lin Zi'ang slammed his head and covered his mouth and said, "No, I haven't heard it. I just think. You, a reporter, are you too dangerous to check these things? What big organization does Wani really have? Are you afraid that they will attack you?" Zhang Xiaoqing sneered, with a stubborn look in her eyes. "Scared? Of course I'm afraid. But some things must be done. I have my reasons, so I must find out the truth." She decided to do it and said, "Okay, you should tell me. What's going on in the afternoon?" Lin Zi'ang knew that he could not hide, so he gritted his teeth and finally made up his mind. He whispered a low voice and almost gritted his teeth, "Okay, I'll tell you, but you have to guarantee that you won't tell me about it, and don't think I'm a crazy person." Zhang Xiaoqing pointed at him and signaled him to continue. Lin Zi'ang took a deep breath and began to tell the things that had happened in the past few days: the influence on Li Chang from the dormitory, and in the afternoon he was scared of gangsters on Lin Tao Road. He was not confused, and even felt pain and out of control. He spoke very slowly, and every word he said seemed to be pricking, as if he was afraid that he would say something wrong. After Zhang Xiaoqing finished listening, her face became abnormally serious. She didn't stop and showed a suspicious expression. She just listened quietly. When he finished speaking, she said in a low voice, "So, what do you mean is that you can sense other people's feelings, or even control their behavior for a short time? It sounds really distant, but I don't think you wrote it. Because I've seen something similar." Lin Zi'ang was stunned. He didn't expect her to say this. "Have you seen it? What does it mean?" Zhang Xiaoqing did not answer directly, but took out a notebook from her bag, turned to one of the pages, pointed to a paragraph above and said, "This is what I remembered when I visited a target." He said, he once saw a person quarreling with someone on the street, but the other party suddenly became stunned, as if he was immobilized, and then turned around and left, his action mechanically like a puppet. He thought he was dazzled at the time, but now I hear you, I think this may not be a coincidence. Lin Zi'ang was shocked and his brain became a group. If someone really has similar abilities to him, is that telling me that this was not accidental, but was caused by someone on purpose? He suddenly felt that the misunderstanding case that Zhang Xiaoqing investigated may have a deeper connection with his ability. Lin Zi'ang. Zhang Xiaoqing suddenly called his name, and his vocal style was very serious. "I don't know how your abilities come from, but if it really has something to do with Haotian Technology, then we may have already entered a scammer. I have a suggestion: let's cooperate. I'll help you find out the source of your abilities, and you help me investigate these misunderstandings. What about it?" Lin Zi'ang was stunned for a moment, but she didn't expect that she would make such a suggestion. He hesitated for a few seconds, and his heart was thrust. On the one hand, he really wanted to figure out what his abilities were, on the other hand, he was afraid that working with Zhang Xiaoqing would drag him into a bigger danger. But in the end, he still pointed, "Okay, cooperate. But I have a condition: no matter what I find, we have to be low-key and don't put ourselves in." Zhang Xiaoqing smiled and stretched out her hand. "Document." Lin Zi'ang held her hand. His heart was not relaxed at all. He knew that from this moment on, he could no longer be an ordinary college student. The night in Xinghai City is getting deeper and deeper, and on the streets outside the cafe, the traffic and people are intertwined, like the heartbeat of this city. And he and Zhang Xiaoqing have embarked on a road full of unknowns. A few days later, the two began to investigate. They first checked the public information of Haotian Technology and found that the company is actually a medical device on the surface, but the source of funds and research projects are unusually secretive. Zhang Xiaoqing used her identity as a reporter to contact some insiders to try to dig out more insiders, while Lin Zi'ang was responsible for collecting information online, while trying to control his own abilities to avoid losing control. But things are not going well. Zhang Xiaoqing received an anonymous threatening text message warning her to stop investigating. Once, she was followed on the way home and something almost happened. Lin Zi'ang's situation was not much better. He found that after each use of his ability, his head hurts longer, and even a few times he had gone through. He began to wonder if this ability had any side effects, and might even kill him. At the same time, the missed case in Xinghai City has not stopped. Just the second week of their investigation, 2 more people missed, and the location was still in the city center. The discussions on the internet are becoming more and more intense, and there are even rumors that near the headquarters building of Haotian Technology, you can often hear strange sounds, as if someone is wailing. Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing knew that they could not be delayed any longer. They decided to venture into a warehouse of Haotian Technology and said that there were some confidential documents stored there. If you can get the certificate, you may be able to reveal the truth about the missed case and superpowers. But they also knew that once this step was out, they would never be able to return. Under the night, Haotian Technology's warehouse area was unusually deserted, with only a few dim road lights surrounding it, illuminating the ground with strange shadows. Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing were wearing black sportswear and masks, squatting behind a bush outside the warehouse, and watching the surrounding silence tightly. There is the sound of security patrols everywhere, and occasionally you can hear the vague dialogues transmitted from the talk machine. "Are you ready?" Zhang Xiaoqing asked softly, with a faint feeling of anxiety in her eyes. Lin Zi'ang was a little bit nervous, his palms were covered in sweat. He knew that this action might change everything, but he didn't choose. He took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Let's go, we don't have much time." The two of them looked at each other and took advantage of the security guard's turn and quickly touched the back door of the warehouse. The night wind in Xinghai City blew over, bringing a biting chill, and the darkness behind them seemed to devour everything at any time. Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing squatted behind the bushes, and the night wind shaved over their faces, bringing a sense of joy, mixed with the faint smell of oil around the warehouse area. Their breathing was very low, for fear of a little sound of shocking the security guards. The door behind the warehouse is just a dozen meters ahead. There are a bunch of raw locks hanging on the iron door, which looks unreal, but the monitoring image on the door makes people's skin numb, and the red indicator lights flash at each other, as if warning anyone who is approaching. "What should I do with the head of the statue?" Lin Zi'ang asked in a low voice, staring at the little red spot. His heart beat fast and his palms were covered in sweat. Although it was not the first time he had done such a sneaky thing, the situation this time was obviously even more dangerous. Zhang Xiaoqing bit her lip, took out a small stone from her pocket, aimed at the corner of the wall next to the head of the statue, and said in a low voice, "I'll draw attention. You'll find a chance to open the lock. Remember, you should move quickly, and the security patrols are about 5 minutes, and we don't have much time." Lin Zi'ang pointed a little, although he was still unsure, but he also knew that it was not the time to be hesitant. He took out a wire from his backpack and learned a few tips for opening the locks online before. Although he was not professional, he should be fine with such an old lock. Zhang Xiaoqing saw that he was ready, took a deep breath, and threw the stone suddenly. The stone hit the corner of the wall far away, making a crisp bang, which was particularly harsh in the quiet night. The security guard who was far away was indeed attracted by the attention. He heard a rapid sound from the talk machine and then moved towards the direction where the stone fell to the ground. Lin Zi'ang seized the opportunity, quickly rushed to the front of the back door, half squatted down, inserted the iron in his hand into the lock hole, and began to clumsily wiping it. His hands were shaking, his brain was covered with all kinds of bad images. Whenever he was caught, there was something more dangerous inside. These thoughts were swaying him like a numbness, causing cold sweat to spread across his head. "Hurry!" Zhang Xiaoqing urged in a low voice. She had returned to him and looked tightly at the direction where the security guard left. "Don't urge, I'm trying." Lin Zi'ang gritted his teeth, and his fingers finally felt a slight click sound in the lock core, and the lock sounded and opened. He relaxed his breath and pushed open the iron door lightly. The doorway made a harsh squeak, and the two couldn't help but hold their breath, fearing that this sound would lead the security guard back. Fortunately, the surrounding area is still quiet, and the security guard seems to be still checking the static distance. Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing quickly flashed in. When they closed the door, the warehouse was pitch black. Only a few faint moonlight came through the broken windows at high places, and they could hardly see the shelves and scattered paper boxes on the ground. There was a damp, musty smell in the air, and there was a strange and unspeakable smell, which made people uncomfortable. The documents should be in the office area behind. Zhang Xiaoqing took out the flashlight from her pocket, carefully shining it in front of her, and said in a low voice, "I have heard before that this is the old warehouse of Haotian technology. Although it has been abandoned on the surface, some people say that they are still secretly using it to store something that cannot be seen. We have to look for it quickly, don't drag it too long." Lin Zi'ang pointed his head and walked forward along the narrow path between the shelves. The light column of the flashlight swayed in the dark, illuminating some old medical equipment packaging boxes, and several paper boxes marked experimental samples, which looked creepy. He felt more and more uneasy, and he always felt that there was no match for this place, as if something would pop out of the darkness at any time. When they walked to the depths of the warehouse, they finally saw a half-covered door with the 3 words "file room" written on the door sign. Although the words were already blurred, they could still be identified. Zhang Xiaoqing pushed open the door lightly, and there was a small hut inside. There were several iron leather document cabinets on the wall, and some yellow papers were scattered on the table, as if no one had taken care of it for a long time. "That's it." Zhang Xiaoqing was holding a burst of excitement in her voice. She quickly walked to the document cabinet and began to search for the twitch. Lin Zi'ang stood at the door and relaxed his wind, and his ears were always paying attention to the static outside. His head started to hurt again, maybe because it was too tight or the atmosphere here made him feel instinctively dangerous. "Finished!" Zhang Xiaoqing exclaimed softly, and took out a piece of document from the drawer. The cover was printed with several words, "Pull Development Plan," and there were also a string of numbers below. She quickly flipped open, and with the light of the flashlight, she saw dense data and charts inside, as well as some photos. The people in the photos had white faces and empty eyes, as if their souls had been taken away. "What kind of ghost thing is this?" Lin Zi'ang looked over and felt a little nervous. The people in the photo obviously didn't want to do it. The background looks like a laboratory, the wall is cold white, and there are various instruments next to it. Zhang Xiaoqing didn't say anything, but continued to flip through the documents, making her face more and more difficult to read. She pointed to one of the pages and read in a low voice, "Experience number 027, ability, emotional perception and short-term behavioral interference, side effects, overloading of the brain, long-term use may lead to cognitive collapse." "Lin Zi'ang, what is described above is exactly the same as what you said." When Lin Zi'ang heard this, a buzzing sound in his brain seemed to be struck by lightning. He took the document, staring at the lines of words, his heart beat as fast as if he was about to jump out of his chest. Experimental? Ability? A collapse of consciousness? These words pierced into his brain like a knife, making him forget to breathe for a while. "So, am I really their experience?" His voice was trembling, with a slight sense of confidence and anger. "I'm not born with this ability, they were created by Haotian technology." Zhang Xiaoqing looked a little bit, her eyes filled with complexity. "It seems like this. They are studying how to develop human potential and create superpowers like you, but these abilities are not stable and may even destroy the host. They do not regard human beings, they only use them as experimental tools." Lin Zi'ang clamped his fists tightly and his nails pinched into his flesh. All the pain in his brain that has been in these few months, the feeling of splitting head, the sensation after using his ability, and even those moments of losing control. It turned out that all this was not accidental, but was caused by someone on purpose. He suddenly felt like a wire-lifting puppet, being played with in his palm. Chen Haotian. He gritted his teeth and almost pulled this name from his teether. This guy is the head of Haotian technology, right? Are he doing these things? Zhang Xiaoqing was about to answer when she suddenly heard a rapid sound of footsteps outside the warehouse. Then she was a low voice from the talk machine. "There is a silence in the back door, go and take a look." The two of them looked at each other, and their hearts sank at the same time. They were discovered. "Go away." Zhang Xiaoqing quickly stuffed the documents into her backpack, pulled Lin Zi'ang out. But as soon as they left the file room, they saw several uniformed security guards blocking the main passage of the warehouse, holding a stick in their hands, and were full of vigilance. "Stop! Don't blame us for being rude if you move again." The security guard in charge shouted loudly, and the light of the flashlight shone directly on Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing's faces, shaking them so hard that they couldn't open their eyes. Lin Zi'ang's heart beat faster, and his mind was flying in his brain. He knew that fighting hard would definitely not work. These security guards were numerous and seemed to be well trained. But if they don't use their abilities, they can't escape at all. He gritted his teeth and decided to take a chance. He focused on trying to perceive the emotions of these security guards. In an instant, a strong sense of attachment and tension surged into his brain, shaking his mind like a flood. He endured the pain in his head and silently said in a low voice, "Put down your weapon and don't move." The next second, the actions of several security guards really froze. The stick in his hand fell to the ground with a terrifying expression on his face, as if he was completely unable to control his body. Lin Zi'ang seized the opportunity, pulled Zhang Xiaoqing and rushed to the back door. "Run. This trick won't last long." Zhang Xiaoqing didn't ask much, and followed him all the way. The two of them rushed out of the back door of the warehouse and ran into the night without looking back. Behind him, the roars and rushing sounds of security guards after recovery came, but Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing had already run into the alleys around and temporarily left the pursuit. After running for about 10 minutes, they finally stopped on a remote path and gasped on the wall. Lin Zi'ang's head was so painful that it was about to crack, and his eyes were blurred. He covered his son's hole and stood firmly, and said in a low voice, "The file, is it still there?" Zhang Xiaoqing looked light and took out the document from his backpack, panting, saying, "Here, but this is not enough. These are just test records and there is no direct evidence to convict Chen Haotian. We have to find a way to expose all of this, otherwise they will continue to harm people." Lin Zi'ang didn't say anything, just looked down at his hand. He knew that Zhang Xiaoqing was right, but at the same time he knew that his abilities were becoming increasingly uncertain. When he just controlled the security guards, he almost didn't hold him back. Some strange pictures in his brain were even flashing in, like someone else's memory, and it was almost out of control. "Xiaoqing." He hesitated for a moment and finally opened his mouth. "If I continue to use this ability, something might really happen. You just saw what was written in the document, identity collapsed. I don't know how long I can hold." Zhang Xiaoqing was stunned for a moment, and there was a flash of worry in her eyes, but she soon recovered. "Then you have to solve this problem faster. If Chen Haotian does not fall, more people will become victims like you, even more despised than you. We can't stop." Lin Zi'ang smiled bitterly and said no more rebellious. He knew she had made sense, but his heart was still heavy, like a big stone. The two discussed briefly and decided to find a safe place to hide first, then contacted some media friends whom Zhang Xiaoqing knew to expose the documents. A few days later, an independent news website in Xinghai City took the lead in publishing a major report titled "The Dark Behind Haotian Technology, The Truth of Human Experience and Mistakes." The article details some of the content of the potential development plan. Although it cannot directly point to Chen Haotian due to limited evidence, it still triggered a huge discussion wave. A firearm was bombed online, and countless people began to suspect Haotian technology. Some victims even came out and asked the police to investigate. At the same time, Lin Zi'ang and Zhang Xiaoqing were unable to relax. They knew that people like Chen Haotian would not fall easily. Exposure was only the first step, and the real dispute was still behind. Sure enough, not long after the report was published, Zhang Xiaoqing received an anonymous text message with only one sentence: "You can't escape." The text message made both of them feel chill, but they also understood that there was no way out now. Lin Zi'ang contacted Wang Xiaopeng and told him some of the situation. Although he did not say anything about superpowers, he still asked him to pay attention to the surrounding silence. Although Xiaopeng was soaked in water, he still answered indifferently, and even offered to act with them. "Brother, when did you become so mysterious?" Xiaopeng patted his chest and said half-jokingly, "But it's okay. No matter what, I will support you. Whoever dares to move you, I will fight him the first time." Lin Zi'ang looked at Xiaopeng's full-hearted look and felt warm, but he also felt more pressure. He knew that he had to protect the people around him and could not let them be hurt by his own affairs. While discussing the fermentation, the police finally investigated the Haotian technology exhibition, but the progress was slow, and it was obviously due to some resistance. Chen Haotian himself seemed to be evaporated from humans, and he did not show up at all. Even the company's high-level team remained silent, making people unable to touch their heads. Until a week later, Zhang Xiaoqing received an anonymous email, which was recorded with a recording, but the content was creepy. In the recording, a low-key man said, "Reporter Zhang, Mr. Lin, you have done too much, but I'll stop you. Some things are not something you can touch. If you continue, the consequences will be borne out." Lin Zi'ang finished listening to the recording and his face turned blue. He could almost confirm that this sound was from Chen Haotian. Although it was processed, the cold language would never be forgotten once he heard it. He clenched his fists and said in a low voice, "He is threatening us, but it also shows that he is panicked." Zhang Xiaoqing looked bright, and a furious heart ignited in his eyes. Yes, the more he did this, the more he explained that we had poked his pain. We have to take this opportunity to find more evidence and pull him off directly. The two decided to bet one and sneak into the headquarters building of Haotian Technology to find Chen Haotian's direct crime. They know that this is the most dangerous step, but it is the only way to solve the problem in a thorough way. Although Xiaopeng didn't fully understand the situation, he still insisted on following, saying that it could at least help Wang Feng. So, on a night of heavy rain, the three of them came outside the building of Haotian Technology headquarters. The high-rise building is filled with clouds, and the glass curtain reflects cold light in the rain, like a huge prison. Lin Zi'ang looked at this building and suddenly felt a strong sense of familiarity in his heart, as if he had been here before, but his memory was blurred. "Let's go, there's no time to hesitate," Zhang Xiaoqing said in a low voice, taking them into the side door, and using the security card he had obtained before to open the door. The interior of the headquarters is unusually quiet, the lights in the corridor are dim, and the air is filled with the smell of disinfectant, which makes people feel nervous. They avoided monitoring all the way and came to the executive office on the top level. The door was locked, but Lin Zi'ang used his ability to control a passing security guard briefly and got the key. The moment the door was opened, a chill came over, and there was no one in the office, but there was an open computer on the table, and the screen was displayed with a list full of experimental editing numbers and statuses, one of which was 027. Lin Zi'ang felt a sudden swell of his heart when he saw his number. He quickly copied the data in the computer with a U-disk, and at the same time, Zhang Xiaoqing searched for other traces in the office. But at this moment, a sneer suddenly came from the door, "You are indeed here." The three of them suddenly turned around and saw Xinghai standing at the door, wearing a straight suit, and a cold smile on his face. "Xinghai." Zhang Shaoqing gritted her teeth and looked at him angrily. "The things you did will be exposed long ago, and you can't escape." Xinghai hummed lightly and said slowly, "Exposed? Little girl, you are too naive. This city, even this world, is far more complicated than you think. What you get can't change anything. But you have hindered my plan and should pay a little bit." When Lin Zi'ang heard this, his anger almost exploded. He subconsciously focused his attention and tried to control Xinghai, but this time, he felt a strong resistance, as if an invisible wall was sank in his brain, making him unable to break through. Xinghai seemed to have noticed his movements and smiled. "Don't be exhausted, Lin Zi'ang. I gave you your ability, but I also know how to suppress it. Do you think you are a hero? No, you are just a failed test." This sentence is like a knife, stabbing Lin Zi'ang's heart hard. He was so painful that he almost couldn't stand firm, but he still gritted his teeth and said with a voice, "Even if I am a test product, I won't let you continue to harm people. Xiaoqing, Xiaopeng, run." Zhang Shaoqing and Xiaopeng were stunned for a moment, but soon responded and tried to exit the picture. However, Xinghai's protective lens was prepared and quickly blocked the exit. Xiaopeng was anxious and rushed up to think hard, but was hit by a gun and fell to the ground in pain. Zhang Shaoqing was also caught and shouted, "Lin Zi'ang, go quickly. Don't worry about us." Lin Zi'ang's heart seemed to be torn apart as he watched them being subdued. He knew that if they didn't do anything now, they would have to be done with all three of them. He gritted his teeth and decided to use his ability without regard to everything. Even if he would lose control, he would try his best. He closed his eyes and focused all his thoughts, and a fire seemed to ignite in his brain, making him almost faint. But the next second, Xinghai and several of the police's bodies froze at the same time, as if they were fixed by invisible power. Lin Zi'ang opened his eyes quietly and said in a low voice, "Let them open, now." Xinghai's face finally changed, and he was shocked in his eyes, but he still said hard, You are self-destructive. Your brain will not last long and will soon collapse." Lin Zi'ang ignored him and walked to Zhang Shaoqing and Xiaopeng, helped them up, and rushed out of the door. His vision became blurry and his head hurt as if countless sticks were pricked, but he still gritted his teeth and ran down the stairs and rushed out of the building. The heavy rain was still falling, and the cold rain hit her face, making Lin Zi'ang sober. They ran into a small alley on the corner of the street and finally stopped, gasping for breath. Zhang Shaoqing checked the U-plate and confirmed that the data was still there. There was a trembling sound. We have succeeded. These things will make Xinghai doom." Lin Zi'ang pointed, but didn't say anything. He leaned against the wall and felt his consciousness was losing a little, as if he would pass by at any time. But he had a sense of ease that he couldn't tell. At least, they brought out the truth. At least, Xinghai would not harm more people. Xiaopeng rubbed the place where the phone was hit and grinned, "Brother, you are so awesome. Just that moment, you're so fucked." Lin Zi'ang smiled hard, his voice very lightly, "Don't worry, we are not safe yet. Xiaoqing, give the data to people you trust, so don't give Xinghai the chance to turn over." Zhang Shaoqing looked calm, his eyes filled with confidence, "Don't worry, I will. But you have to hold back, don't scare me." Lin Zi'ang did not answer, but looked at the building far away, and the rain blurred his vision. He knew that his abilities might never disappear, or even continue to evolve. But no matter what happens in the future, he will not escape. He would work with Zhang Shaoqing to continue to track down the secrets hidden in the darkness of Xinghai City until all the truth was dug out. The rain is getting heavier and heavier, and the road lights in the alley are dim and lonely, like the endless shadows of this city. And the three of them stood in the rain, their backs were swallowed by the night, and they were filled with an unyielding light.